Today, the Supreme Court turned a blind eye to the Trump administration's blatant bigotry. This decision greenlights religious and ethnic discrimination that runs counter to the inclusionary principles that our country aspires to. Rather than reinforcing the notion that America welcomes people regardless of where they were born, what they look like, or how they pray, the Supreme Court instead upheld a ban driven by anti-Muslim sentiment that devalues equality. The Supreme Court has been wrong on major decisions before, and the Roberts Court joins that sad legacy today. Consider Dred Scott when the court ruled in favor of slavery, or Korematsu when the court permitted the incarceration of thousands of people based on their Japanese ancestry. In this case, Trump set out to ban Muslims, and the highest level of our judiciary just allowed it to happen, empowering this president and future administrations to discriminate on the basis of religion. Today's decision attacks Muslim communities and opens the door to government and court-sanctioned discrimination of other ethnic and religious groups. The Trump administration has an anti-family agenda, and the Supreme Court just endorsed it. The court's decision today immediately causes irreparable damage to Muslim families and communities. This ban has already caused tremendous suffering from countless families and entire communities. By upholding it, the justices are keeping spouses apart from each other and separating children from their parents. They are also depriving patients of life-saving health care and blocking access to education. The Muslim ban is part of President Trump's larger un-American war on immigrant families, including his administration's inhumane separation of children and parents at the border. Our fight continues, the fight for religious freedom and justice for all immigrant families do not end here. The right to live in peace, to be treated justly no matter one's race, ethnicity, or religion is too important to let one person, one president, one decision destroy it. We will continue to fight for Muslim families and communities to pursue legal avenues on behalf of impacted people and demand that legislators take action to end the Muslim ban. Most importantly, we will continue organizing, mobilizing, and defending the rights of Muslim communities and other immigrant communities from bigoted policies, whether they are endorsed by the Supreme Court or not. I had the honor of being one of the plaintiffs in this lawsuit against Trump, and we were committed here in Sacramento and around the nation to push back against this.
Thank you very much, Basim, for your leadership and for organizing today's important event. I'm Darrell Steinberg. I am the mayor of Sacramento. There is a long history of people in power who believe they are all powerful, saying exactly what they mean. And I think it is important that we recount the history. It was just several years ago when candidate Trump called for the total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the country. He then went on to say, I think Islam hates us. We can't allow people coming into this country who have this hatred of the United States. He later said, we're having problems with the Muslims, and we're having problems with the Muslims coming in to this country. He said after the attack in Berlin, and asked whether he would reconsider his proposed Muslim ban, you know my plans. All along I've been proven right, he said. He then said on many occasions that he would strongly consider closing mosques. And this is probably 1/4, if that, of the kinds of vile that has come out of the mouth of the leader of the free world. And so we must be clear. Racism is racism is racism. We must give it or him no quarter. The court's decision this morning is inexplicable and it is disheartening. It is a dark day for the court and the country. And as Basim said, it is reminiscent of the infamous Korematsu decision and the equally infamous Dred Scott decision. Korematsu, of course, upheld the internment of Japanese Americans. But you know, there is another side to history as well. There is a long history of people choosing to stand up, to be counted, and to not let injustice be the final word. And I think it is important that on this dark day, we point out some differences between today and even as recently as the 1940s, because when the Korematsu decision was issued, and when the executive order was made to put Japanese Americans behind barbed wire fences, truth is there was very little outcry. The legislature actually took up a resolution supporting the internment of Japanese Americans, and there are only 2 dissenting votes in the entire legislature. So this is what's heartening to me. It's 2018, and silence is no more. The people in this community and communities throughout the country are saying loudly and clearly that we will organize, we will resist, we will fight peacefully, and we will throw you out of office if you violate American values. That's to the president and anyone else who stands with him around policies which are abhorrent to fundamental American values. And so I think about the marches, the rallies, the numbers of people, the voter turnout, which was higher in this last gubernatorial primary than in recent memory. And I say, Mr. President, your time in this office is, thank God, limited, not to 8 years, to 4 years, because you don't stand with us. You don't stand for the better parts of American history, and you don't stand consistent with the best of American values. Thank you.
In a 5-4 ruling this morning, justices sided with the cornerstone of Trump's xenophobic immigration policy by upholding his discriminatory Muslim ban. This latest version of the ban limits entry to the United States from citizens of 5 Muslim-majority countries, in addition to a small number of Northern Koreans and Venezuelans. This decision, as we have heard, it greenlights religious and ethnic discrimination that runs counter to the principles that our country aspires to. And rather than reinforcing the notion that Americans welcome people regardless of where they are born, what they look like, and how they pray, the Supreme Court upheld a ban that is driven by anti-Muslim sentiment. And while this is a loss, this isn't the end of the fight. The Supreme Court has been wrong on major decisions before, and this court today joins that legacy. And history will not look kindly on this decision, as it has not for other wrong decisions. As we have heard, the Dred Scott decision, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of slavery. We see how that turned out. And in Korematsu, the court permitted the incarceration of thousands of people based on their Japanese ancestry. And now, the Muslim ban is just the latest in devastating, but not permanent, blows and bad decisions by the Supreme Court. The Muslim ban is part of President Trump's larger anti-American and anti-family policies, including the separation of children and parents at the border. But let me be clear, nothing in today's decision will greenlight a broad reading that the Supreme Court or any other court will rule in favor of problematic immigration policies that the Trump administration has in its agenda. And the fight is not over. What we saw today was devastating, But our Supreme Court justices are appointed by our presidents and vetted by our members of Congress. The federal judges who review these cases are appointed by our president, and Congress members have input in that process as well. And months away from the midterm election, it is now more important than ever to remember that our vote matters. Additionally, Congress can overrule this decision by creating a law that limits the court's decision. We must make it crystal clear to our elected representatives: if you are not taking actions to rescind and dismantle the Trump Muslim ban, you are not upholding this country's most basic principles of freedom and equality. The ACLU of Northern California and our Foundation of Northern California will continue to work with community partners and support mobilizing efforts in the communities. While the Trump administration has fought to discriminate Muslim families and people of color, our fight for religious freedom and justice for all immigrant families will not end here. The right to live in peace and be treated justly, no matter one's race, ethnicity, or religion, is too important to let one person, one president, or one decision stop that work. We will continue to fight with and for Muslim families and communities, to pursue legal avenues on behalf of impacted people, and to demand that legislators act to end the Muslim ban.
Can we get your name?
Yeah. My name is Abre Connor, and I'm a staff attorney with ACLU Foundation of Northern California.
Can you spell that? Please?
It's A-B-R-E, the accent after the E, and then Connor, C-O-N-N-E-R.
Your title again?
Staff attorney with the ACLU Foundation of Northern California.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Basim. I'm a school board member for Elkarra Unified School District. I'm also a proud member of the Sacramento Regional Coalition for Tolerance. Muslim values are American values. Today is a very sad day for our country. As an immigrant born in India, I'm a proud Sikh American, but today I am a Muslim. I stand in solidarity with my Muslim brothers and sisters. We have to remember that elections have consequences. We must all work together to end the politics of hate, because in my heart I do know that brighter days are ahead. As sad as today is, brighter days are ahead, because love will always trump hate. They've come after Muslims. They've come after Indian Americans. They've come after little children that are locked in cages. They've come after the disabled community. When is enough enough? They're coming after you, and you may not even know it. Now is the time to work together, because the people united will never be divided. Thank you.
Bobby, would you spell your name for us again?
Bobby, B-O-B-B-I-E, Singh, S-I-N-G-H, hyphen Allen, A-L-L-E-N, Elkarra Unified School District, trustee. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's morning still, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Josh Kaizuka. I am the co-president of the Foreign Japanese American Citizens League. Today we're all Muslims. The reason I'm here today is to stand with my brothers and sisters in the Muslim community who are being discriminated against, just like American citizens 76 years ago were. These travel bans, the Muslim ban, let's call it what it is. It's a Muslim ban. It was talked about during the campaign. Clearly, the person who instituted the executive order, which the Supreme Court upheld today, made sure that his people, his pundits went out, made sure that everybody knew what this ban was about. It wasn't about some terrorist group. It was about individuals of faith that he did not like. basically a racist executive order. The reason we're here, like the mayor said, and everybody else is talking about, there's bad decisions that come down from the U.S. Supreme Court. Today's ruling talked about how Korematsu is wrong then and wrong today. In essence, overturning a dreadful opinion. At the same time, coming through and deciding a case in which history will look back and say, once again, it was wrongly decided because it was based on exactly what happened during World War II. Failure of political leadership, racism, and warmongering. 3 factors that parallel each one of these crazy policies coming out of Washington. Yesterday, I was at a rally talking about the incarceration of babies and children by this administration. We were there because there's so many parallels to what happened to Japanese Americans 76 years ago. Babies, families behind barbed wire. That's what's going on today. That's why we're here, to stand together so that everyone knows we can all unite and fight back, peacefully of course. But most importantly, everybody with a good conscience needs to get out in November and vote people out who are against unity and inclusiveness. Thank you.
Spell your last name, sir.
Kaizuka is Kaizuka.
Thank you, sir.
And we're going to send out an email right after the press conference with everyone's names and titles in the order that they spoke. Okay. So thank you very much for coming out.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Basim. I'm sorry? Yes. Okay. Happy to do some individual interviews. Okay. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Can we make sure Kevin